Today we're going to be talking about insurance versus self-pay. That may be a term that you've heard when you're counseling searching or when you're searching for a therapist. You may see that some counselors take insurance and some don't. What exactly does that mean to you other than cost? We'll talk about that today. Hi, my name is Rhonda Brown. I'm a registered nurse, counselor, and marriage and family therapist. And welcome to the Art of Connection Therapy channel, where we talk about connection to God, connection to ourselves, and connection to one another. I create educational videos to help you move toward having the kinds of relationships that you were created to have. Usually when people are looking for counselors or therapists, they begin by looking through their insurance company. They may go to their insurance company's website, see what kind of counselors or therapists are covered under their insurance, and start making their calls. That is a good way to start. However, I just want to give you some information to help you to make the best decision for you when you are looking for a therapist, and how going through your insurance versus paying out of pocket may or may not benefit you. So let's talk about the different categories which insurance versus self-pay can impact. So the first category is going to be the category of cost. Going through your insurance company typically costs people less in the beginning, especially if your insurance company is covering therapy sessions at 100%, then you are paying nothing weekly. Or if your insurance company charges you a copay, let's say $30 per session to see your therapist or your specialist, then you are paying $30 per week for weekly sessions. 30 times 4, you're paying about $120 a month for your therapy sessions. When you are paying through self-pay, the therapist may have a fee that is set. Say, for example, the therapist sets a rate at $100 per session. If you are seeing that therapist weekly, you can see how that can easily add up to about $400 a month for therapy. So in the category of cost, initially, and I'll talk a little bit more about this, when we talk about cost, insurance may win the category for cost because you are paying less per session typically. Now, there are some caveats to that. The first thing is that some insurance policies that you have, and this is why you want to make sure that you find out from your insurance company, some policies that you have may say that you have to pay the deductible first. And the deductible may be $500 or $1,000 before insurance will start to cover your sessions. If that is the case, then now you're having to pay $1,000 up front before insurance will kick in. So you may not see that cost savings as you would if you didn't have a deductible to meet. But overall, we'll say that insurance wins category 1 for cost. Category 2, confidentiality. In regards to confidentiality, going through your insurance company means that, number one, your counselor will have to give you a diagnosis. What am I talking about? Say, for example, you have a couple that comes in for counseling sessions and they are working with a counselor. In order for that counselor to be paid, or in order for sessions to be covered by the insurance company, the insurance typically wants to see some type of diagnosis to say why they're paying what they're paying every week. With that, the counselor then has to give you a diagnosis. One person, at least out of the couple, has to receive a diagnosis. Now, you may be okay with that. The other thing I want you to consider, though, is that the diagnosis now becomes a part of your permanent medical record. That is something to consider. Some people may be fine with that, others may be not. Just know that if it becomes a part of your medical record, that it may impact you in the future. For example, some jobs, some employers now are looking, before they employ people, they're looking at their medical records, they're looking at their financial records to determine whether or not they will hire someone. So 5 years, 10 years after therapy is all said and done, will having this diagnosis impact you in the future, especially if you didn't need a diagnosis, but you had to have one because insurance, that's the only way that they would cover your sessions. Another thing that having a diagnosis may impact is if you decide in the future to apply for life insurance, or if in the future you decide to get your own medical coverage. Maybe you leave your 9-to-5 job and you decide to start your own business or your own side hustle or your own thing, and you decide to pay for medical insurance out of your pocket. Well, what's on your medical record may or may not determine your rates in the future. Again, it's just something to consider. You are going through your insurance company. It may cost you less. However, it may cost you in a different form if it's something that's on your medical record that doesn't necessarily need to be there. Whereas for self-pay, you do not necessarily have to have a diagnosis if you don't need one. So for example, we'll use the same couple that comes in for counseling, couples counseling, because they're having some issues, marital issues. There's no depression going on. There's no anxiety. There's nothing. There are just issues going on in the relationship. That couple or the client may not need a diagnosis. With self-pay, because there's nothing to submit to the insurance companies, the counselor is not obligated to issue either one or both parties a diagnosis. So there is nothing that stays on your medical record or that becomes a part of your permanent medical record, which will not impact you in the future. So in the category of confidentiality, self-pay wins because that helps your information stay more confidential than if you were to go through your insurance company. Category 3, control. In the category of control, when you go through your insurance company, there may be limits that the insurance company places or stipulations that the insurance company places on your sessions and on your therapy. For example, we talked about having to have a diagnosis. That is one that we talked about before. But did you also know that certain insurance policies will cover certain diagnoses but will not cover others? So that's a limitation there. Some insurance policies can also limit the number of sessions per year or sessions per policy. For example, you may have an insurance policy that says they will only cover 12 sessions per year of therapy. So there's another limitation. Lastly, as I talked about before, there's a limitation as far as your confidentiality, because there are times that the insurance, in order to cover additional sessions, they want more information from your therapist regarding what the sessions are about and what was covered and what treatment plan was being used and so on and so forth. So you can see how it becomes more that the insurance company controls some aspects of your therapy, of your care when you are going through insurance, because they are paying for it. Now, if you go through self-pay, on the other hand, the counselor is not required to issue a diagnosis unless it's something that is needed. If there needs to be a diagnosis, it's perfectly fine because the sessions are being covered by the client. There is no limit or cap to the number of sessions that you have because, again, you, the client, are paying for your therapy, or paying for your sessions. So if you want to have sessions for a year, 2 years, 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is, then that's perfectly fine. It comes up to the client and the counselor and what they determine that you, the client, needs. And then lastly, as I mentioned before, there is no review of files by the insurance company to determine if additional sessions are needed or if a certain treatment plan is being followed. That would be between the client and the counselor. The two of you would be working in collaboration to determine your treatment plan, to determine what works, what doesn't work, and if something doesn't work, then to be able to change it. You're not restricted. So in the category of control, self-pay wins. Self-pay gets a point because there is more control with the client. The client has more control over the sessions, more control over the treatment plan, more control over the number of sessions that they have until they are satisfied with their treatment and have met their treatment goals. last category is referrals. As you're going through insurance, your insurance company may require that you get a referral from your primary care physician. And as you can think, with self-pay, there is no referral that is needed. You find the counselor that you're looking for, you find that they work for you, you work for them, and you guys decide to work with each other as long as you see fit and as long as you agree to with your counselor. So there is no referral there. So in the category of referral, I would say that self-pay wins because there is no referral that's needed. If you found this information helpful, please like and subscribe to this channel. Also, you can hit the notification bell to know when I post more videos. And you can also check out my website at www.theartofconnectiontherapy.com. Thank you for watching. See you next time. And remember that connection is an art worth mastering. Take care.